Picture a man lying on a stretcher in the dusty streets of Capernaum. His legs have not worked in 12 years. His friends have just lowered him through a roof because the crowd around Jesus was too thick to reach him any other way. Dust is still falling from the ceiling. Everyone is starring, and Jesus walks over, looks down at this man who so obviously needs healing, and asks him a question that makes no sense whatsoever. What do you want me to do for you? The man is paralyzed. What he wants is obvious to everyone in the room. Yet Jesus asks anyway. This was not the only time. A blind man named Bartimaeus is shouting from the roadside. Jesus stops, calls him over, and asks the same question. What do you want me to do for you? The man is blind. He has been announcing his blindness to the entire crowd. Everyone knows what he needs, but Jesus asks anyway. At the pool of Bethesda, a man has been unable to walk for 38 years. He is lying by the water waiting for healing. Jesus approaches him and asks, "Do you want to be made well?" Again, the question seems absurd. Why would someone lie by a healing pool for nearly 4 decades if they did not want to be healed? Yet Jesus never heals anyone without first hearing them voice what they want. This was not politeness. This was not bedside manner. This was activation of a specific spiritual law that the early church buried, because if people understood what that question was really doing, the entire religious power structure would collapse overnight. Subscribe right now, because what you are about to learn will change not just how you read the Bible, but how you access healing, manifestation, and power in your own life. The question Jesus asked was never about gathering information. He knew what people needed before they opened their mouths. The Gospels make this clear again and again. He knew their thoughts. He perceived their faith. He saw into their hearts without them speaking a single word. So why ask? Because Jesus understood something that modern religion has completely forgot. Healing does not flow to the passive. Power does not activate for the silent. The universe, God, source, whatever name you give it, responds to one thing above all else: declared intention. When Jesus asked, "What do you want me to do for you?" he was not requesting information. He was requiring participation. He was demanding that the person move from being a victim of circumstance to being an active creator of their reality. This is the part that makes religious people uncomfortable. Because if you can speak your healing into existence, if your words carry creative power, if your declaration is what activates divine intervention, then you do not need a priest to do it for you. You do not need an institution to mediate. You do not need someone else to access God on your behalf. You have direct access, and that terrifies every system built on control. Let me take you deeper. In the beginning was the Word. You have heard this your entire life, but you were taught it meant Jesus. That is not what it means. The Greek term used is logos. Logos does not just mean word, it means spoken thought, expressed intention, creative declaration. The entire universe came into being through spoken word. God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Not God thought about light, not God wished for light. God spoke, and reality rearranged itself to match the declaration. This is not poetry, this is instruction. You are made in that image, not in the image of a body. In the image of a creator who speaks things into existence. Your words are not just communication, they are commands to the quantum field. They are instructions to the energy that underlies all matter. They are creative force, and Jesus knew this. Every single healing in the Gospels follows the same pattern. Jesus creates a moment where the person must speak their desire out loud. He forces them to move from silent suffering to vocal declaration. And the moment they speak, the moment they voice what they want with clarity and intention, the healing is released. Not because Jesus suddenly decided to help them, but because their declaration created a vibrational match between their current reality and the reality they desired. This is not faith healing, this is physics. Quantum physics has spent the last century discovering what mystics have known for millennia. Observation collapses the wave function. Your attention, your focus, your conscious declaration does not just observe reality, it selects which version of reality materializes. Right now, in this exact moment, infinite potential futures exist in superposition. You getting healed and you staying sick, you breaking free and you staying stuck, you rising into power and you remaining helpless. All of these realities exist simultaneously as potential until the moment you declare which one you are choosing. Most people never make that declaration. They wait for something outside themselves to choose for them. They wait for a doctor to fix them. They wait for circumstances to shift. They wait for God to finally decide they have suffered enough. And they wait forever, because the universe does not choose for you. You choose, and the universe arranges itself around your choice. But here is the critical part. The declaration must be specific, it must be verbal, and it must come from you. This is why Jesus never healed anyone who did not ask. This is why he required them to speak their need out loud even when it was obvious. Because a need that remains unspoken stays in the realm of potential. A need that is declared moves into the realm of manifestation. Think about how many times you have complained about what you do not want. I do not want to be sick anymore. I do not want to be broke. I do not want to be alone. Complaint is declaration in reverse. Every time you voice what you do not want, you are instructing the quantum field to bring you more of exactly that, because the field does not hear the word not. It only hears the image you are creating with your words. When you say, "I do not want to be sick," the field hears sick and reflects it back to you. This is why Jesus never let people stay in complaint. He redirected them immediately to specific positive present tense declaration. Not, "I do not want to be blind," but, "Lord, let me receive my sight." Not, "I wish I was not paralyzed, but I want to walk." The difference is everything. One is vibrating at the frequency of lack. The other is vibrating at the frequency of fulfilled desire, and the universe can only give you what matches your vibration. Let me show you exactly how Jesus engineered these moments. When Bartimaeus is shouting from the roadside, he is saying, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." That is complaint, that is victimhood, that is begging. Jesus does not respond to that. He stops walking, he calls the man over, and he asks the question, "What do you want me to do for you?" Now Bartimaeus has to shift. He cannot stay in beggar mode. He has to move into creator mode. He has to specify, he has to claim, and watch what he says. "Lord, let me receive my sight," present tense, specific, declared. And immediately Jesus says, "Your faith has made you well, not my power healed you." Your faith, your declaration, your choice to move from passive suffering to active creation. That is what released the healing. The woman with the issue of blood demonstrates this even more clearly. She does not ask Jesus for anything out loud, but notice what the text says. She said to herself, "If I just touch his garment, I will be made well." She declared it, not "I hope, not maybe, not if God wills it, I will be made well." Specific, certain, declared, and what happens? Power goes out from Jesus without him even intending it. He feels it leave. He stops and asks, "Who touched me?" Because her declaration was so clear, so aligned, so filled with certainty that it pulled the healing out of him automatically. This is how the law works. When your declaration matches the frequency of what you desire, reality has no choice but to deliver it. Not because you are forcing anything, but because you are finally allowing what has always been available. Now let me tell you what the church did with this teaching. They could not erase it completely. The stories were too well known, but they could reinterpret it. They could bury the mechanism, so they taught you that Jesus was special, that he had power you do not have, that these healings happen because of his divinity, not because of a spiritual law that applies to everyone. They taught you to pray, which really means beg. They taught you to submit, which really means stay powerless. They taught you that your words do not matter, that only God's words matter, and that you need a priest to speak to God for you. This was not theology, this was control. Because the moment you understand that your words carry creative power, the moment you understand that declaration is what activates manifestation, the moment you understand that Jesus was teaching you to do what he did, not worship him for being the only one who could do it, you stop needing the institution. You become dangerous, not dangerous to God, dangerous to the systems that profit from your powerlessness. Jesus himself said, "You will do even greater things than these." Not "you will watch me do things and feel inadequate." Not "you will beg me to do things for you." You will do them. He was teaching a method. He was demonstrating a law. He was showing you that the kingdom of heaven, the realm of infinite potential, responds to declared intention. And every single time he healed someone, he created a moment where they had to practice that law. He made them declare, he made them specify, he made them move from victim to creator. And then he said, "Your faith has made you well. Go and do likewise," not "Go and wait for me to do it again. Go and do it yourself." Let me show you how this applies to your life right now. Right now, pause and think about one thing you have been waiting for. One area where you have been hoping things will change. One situation where you have been stuck. Now ask yourself this question. Have you declared what you want, or have you only complained about what you do not want? Have you spoken it out loud with clarity and certainty, or have you kept it vague and internal? Have you moved into creator mode, or are you still in victim mode waiting for someone else to fix it? This is not about blame. This is about power. The moment you declare, you activate. The moment you specify, you direct energy. The moment you speak with certainty, you collapse the wave function and select the timeline where the thing you desire already exists. But the declaration has to be clean. It cannot be contaminated with doubt. It cannot be wrapped in complaint. It cannot be hypothetical. Watch how Jesus worded things. He never said, "If it be your will." He said, "Be healed, be open, be made whole, stand up and walk." He spoke to reality as if the thing was already done, not as a future possibility, as a present fact. This is the key. When you declare something as if it is already true, you step into the timeline where it is true. You do not wait for evidence. You do not wait for permission. You do not wait for circumstances to shift first. You speak first, and then reality shifts to match. This feels backwards to the logical mind. The logical mind says, "I will believe it when I see it," but the spiritual law says you will see it when you believe it, and belief is demonstrated through declaration. You cannot believe something and speak the opposite. If you truly believe you are healed, you will speak as a healed person. If you truly believe you are free, you will speak as a free person. If you truly believe you are powerful, you will speak as a powerful person. And the moment you speak that way consistently, reality has no choice but to reflect it back to you. Let me give you the most extreme example from the Gospels. Lazarus has been dead for 4 days. His body is already decomposing. This is not a healing, this is a resurrection. And what does Jesus do? He prays, but notice how he prays. "Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I know that you always hear me." Past tense, already done. He's not begging, he's not asking, he's declaring alignment with what is already true in the realm of potential. And then he speaks directly to the situation. "Lazarus, come forth," not "Please come forth," not "If it be your will, come forth," command, declaration, certainty. And a dead man walks out of a tomb because reality responded to the declaration. This is not magic. This is law, and Jesus spent his entire ministry trying to teach people that they could access this same law. He was not the exception, he was the example, but here's where most people fail. They make the declaration once, do not see immediate results, and go back to complaining. They say the words but do not shift their vibration. They speak healing but continue to identify as sick. They declare freedom but keep rehearsing their bondage. Declaration without alignment is just noise. You have to become the thing before you see the thing. You have to vibrate at the frequency of the fulfilled desire before the fulfilled desire can materialize in your reality. This is why Jesus always checked their faith first, not faith as in belief in him. Faith as in vibrational alignment with the desired outcome. When he said your faith has made you well, he was pointing to their energetic state, their certainty, their alignment. The declaration was the evidence of that alignment. If they could speak it with certainty, they were already in the timeline where it was true. Now let me show you what happens when someone is not aligned. The father brings his epileptic son to Jesus. The disciples already tried to heal him and failed. Jesus asks, how long has this been happening? The father explains and then says, if you can do anything, have compassion on us and help us. Notice the language: if you can, doubt, uncertainty, victimhood, and Jesus calls it out immediately. If I can, all things are possible to him who believes. He redirects the declaration. He makes the father take responsibility for the outcome. And the father, to his credit, makes the shift. I believe, help my unbelief. That is a declaration of alignment. That is movement from doubt to certainty. That is taking responsibility. And immediately the healing is released. The question Jesus asked was never about information, it was always about activation. What do you want me to do for you? Do you want to be made well? What are you seeking? Every single time he was creating a moment where the person had to declare, had to specify, had to move from passive hopping to active creating. And the moment they made that shift, the healing was already done. You have been taught to wait for God to move, but God is waiting for you to declare. You have been taught that your words do not matter, but your words are the mechanism through which spirit moves into form. You have been taught to be humble, which really means stay small, but Jesus taught you to speak to mountains and watch them move. If you are ready to stop waiting and start declaring, comment the words, I am ready to create right now, not for me, for yourself. Let the algorithm see that this teaching is activating people. Let other seekers find this video. Subscribe and turn on notifications, because what is coming next goes even deeper into the hidden teachings they did not want you to find. Like this video so it cannot be suppressed. The question was never what Jesus could do for you. The question was always what you were willing to declare for yourself. The healing was always available. The power was always present. You just had to open your mouth and claim it. Now you know, now you decide. What do you want? Say it out loud, say it with certainty, say it as if it is already done. And then watch reality rearrange itself to match your words. This is not theory, this is how it works. This is what Jesus taught, and this is what they buried until now. But here is something most people miss when they finally understand this teaching. Declaration without action is incomplete. Jesus did not just speak healing into existence and then sit back waiting. Every single healing in the Gospels involved movement. The paralyzed man had to get up and walk. Bartimaeus had to follow Jesus down the road. The woman had to reach out and touch the garment. The declaration activated the potential, but the action anchored it into physical reality. You cannot declare healing and then spend all day in bed refusing to move your body. You cannot declare abundance and then refuse to apply for the job or take the entrepreneurial risk. You cannot declare love and then isolate yourself from human connection. The declaration opens the door. Your action walks through it. This is the part that separates people who manifest what they desire from people who spin their wheels saying affirmations that never materialize. They treat the words as magical incantations, as if speaking them is enough. But the universe requires partnership. You declare and then you move in alignment with that declaration. You speak healing and then you begin to move and act as a healed person would. You speak abundance and then you position yourself to receive it. You speak connection and then you show up in spaces where connection can happen. The declaration shifts your vibration. The action demonstrates your commitment to that vibration. Together they are unstoppable. Think about Bartimaeus again. He declares his desire to receive his sight. Jesus says, go, your faith has made you well. But then the text says immediately he received his sight and followed Jesus on the road. He did not sit there marveling at the miracle. He got up, he followed, he took action aligned with being a person who could see. This is why so many people with healers and gurus and spiritual teachers end up disappointed. They receive the teaching. They feel the energy shift, they leave feeling inspired, but then they go back to their old patterns. They do not take action, they do not restructure their life around the new reality they declared. They do not become the person who has what they desire, and so the potential collapses. The timeline shifts back, the old reality reasserts itself, because activation requires sustained alignment, not just a momentary declaration. When Jesus sent people away, he often said, go and sin no more. Do not go back to the old patterns, do not reactivate the old reality, stay in the new one, become the healed person completely, not just in the moment. This is why he also said that some people would return to their sickness worse than before, because they experienced the shift, the declaration worked, healing was available, but then they did not sustain it. They went back to the old identity, they started speaking the old complaints, they reactivated the old frequency. And the vacuum they created was filled by even deeper entrenchment in the old pattern. This is critical to understand. Your declaration is not a one-time event, it is a commitment. Every single day you have to wake up and reaffirm it. Every time doubt creeps in, you have to speak certainty again. Every time your circumstances try to convince you that nothing has changed, you have to speak as if everything has. This is not positive thinking. This is not ignoring reality. This is actively selecting which reality you are going to participate in. Because here's the secret the institutions really did not want you to know. Your reality right now is not fixed. It is not determined by your past. It is not locked in place by your genetics or your circumstances or your trauma. Your reality is a constant recreation. Every single moment you are choosing which timeline you are going to step into based on your words, your beliefs, your expectations, and your actions. Most people choose unconsciously. They inherit their family's beliefs about what is possible. They absorb the cultural narratives about limitation. They accept the default timeline as inevitable. But you are not most people anymore. You know how it works. You know that declaration matters. You know that your words are creative force. You know that you are not a victim of circumstance but a creator of it. So the question becomes, what are you going to create? Because this responsibility might feel heavy at first. If you are creating your reality through your declarations, then you are responsible for the suffering you experience. You cannot blame God. You cannot blame the universe. You cannot blame your circumstances. You have to look at what you have been speaking into existence. But this responsibility is also the most liberating force in the universe. Because if you created the suffering through your words and your beliefs, then you can uncreate it the same way. You do not have to wait for external permission. You do not have to convince anyone. You do not have to prove you deserve it. You just have to declare it, align with it, and take action toward it. And reality will shift. This is what Jesus kept trying to tell people. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. Not in the distant future. Not after you die. Now it is available right now. You just have to access it through declaration and alignment. But accessing it means you have to give up the comfort of victimhood. You have to stop blaming external circumstances. You have to stop waiting for someone else to fix you. You have to step into your power, and that terrifies people because power comes with responsibility. As long as you are a victim, you cannot fail. You are just suffering circumstances. But the moment you become a creator, failure becomes possible. You might declare something and then not follow through with alignment. You might speak words that do not match your vibration. You might discover that your beliefs are more limited than you thought. These are uncomfortable truths, but they are also the doorway to transformation. Every master teacher in history has taught the same principle in different language. Buddha taught that your words and thoughts create your experience. The Emerald Tablets taught that as above so below, what you think and speak in the inner world manifests in the outer world. The ancient Hermetic texts taught that all is mind, and consciousness through declaration shapes reality. Quantum physics is now proving what mystics have always known. The observer effect is not a metaphor. Your attention, your focus, your conscious declaration literally collapses quantum possibilities into physical manifestation. You are not separate from the universe. You are the universe observing itself and speaking itself into being. And every single moment you are either speaking yourself into greater power or greater limitation. There is no neutral. There is no passivity. Even silence is a declaration. The refusal to speak what you desire is a declaration that you do not believe you can have it. The refusal to take action is a declaration that you are not worthy of it. The refusal to shift your identity is a declaration that you prefer the familiar pain to the unknown possibility. So where does this leave you? It leaves you with a choice. The same choice Jesus offered to every person he healed. Do you want to be made well? Do you want to be free? Do you want to access the power that is already yours? Or do you want to stay comfortable in your limitation? There is no judgment either way. Some people are not ready to step into their power. Some people have built their entire identity around their suffering and cannot imagine who they would be without it. Some people prefer the safety of blame to the responsibility of creation. These are valid choices, but they come with consequences, a life of waiting, a life of hoping that someone else will fix you, a life of watching other people step into their power while you remain stuck because you were unwilling to make the declaration. Jesus did not force anyone to be healed. He created the opportunity. He asked the question, but each person had to choose to step through the door, and most did not. The Gospels tell us that the vast majority of people rejected his teaching. They wanted a different kind of Messiah, one who would overthrow Rome and give them external power instead of teaching them to access internal power, one who would do it for them instead of requiring them to participate in their own liberation. So they chose crucifixion. And the teaching was buried under layers of institutional control. But now you have it. You know what the question really meant. You know why Jesus asked it. You know how it works. You know that your words matter. You know that declaration activates potential. You know that alignment sustains manifestation. You know that you are not waiting for God to move. You are waiting on yourself to declare. And you know that the moment you do, everything changes. This is not a belief system. This is not something you have to have faith in like a religion. This is observable reality. You can test it yourself starting today. Pick one thing, one desire, one area where you have been stuck, and make the declaration, not as a wish, not as a hope, as a statement of fact. I am healed, I am free, I am abundant, I am loved, I am powerful. Say it out loud. Say it with certainty. Say it as if it is already complete, and then align your actions with that declaration. Move through the world as if it is true. Speak about it as if it is true. Make decisions as if it is true, and watch what happens. The universe will respond, not because you are forcing it, but because you are finally aligning yourself with what has always been available. This is your birthright. This is your power. This is what Jesus was trying to teach you all along. Now you know, and knowing you cannot pretend you do not. The responsibility is yours. The choice is yours. The creation is yours. What will you declare?